It's Friday. Hello, world, and welcome to another episode of Americana. I'm Willie, Montague.
And I'm Shakhea.
Today, we're digging into the issues shaping America right now: power, accountability, leadership, and what happens when institutions refuse to protect the people they claim to serve. And only here, right here, do we have honest conversations about where America is and where America is headed. Stay tuned, folks. This is Americana. Right, coming up on today's show, we're diving into Black Wall Street 2.0. Rise of OnlyFans and whether America is headed towards a syntax. What happened to the black family after the Great Society? And the big question nobody wants to ask, are we watching the collapse of the United States in real time? Let's get into it. And I want to preface this as we get started. Contrary to popular belief, I wanted to have a conversation about black folks so that we can be able to discuss how much I really adore black people. When people talk about Black Wall Street, they usually talk about what happened to it. But the bigger question is why it mattered. It wasn't just businesses, it was ownership. It was community economics. It was the power to hire our own, fund our own, build our own, and protect our own future. The conversation America needs right now isn't just about what was destroyed. It's about whether or not we can actually have it being returned. 2.0. Do you believe? She got a T already. She got it propped up. I'm a drawing you. Black Wall Street 2.0. And I've said this on countless times because I want this to be clear with everybody, because I'm not just talking about your leggings and bonnets today. But I want to know, why is it that we cannot restore the Black Wall Street and that we solely focus on how deprived Black America is?
That's a real question.
Yes.
I don't think we only focus on the depravity of black people. I think in recent years, we have really celebrated and highlighted the accomplishments and achievements that many black Americans have done within our society. To your question, how do we get back, or what happened to it?
Yeah.
I think the policies, legislation has happened to it. There's stricter legislation or more barriers, I'll say that are in place that somebody of color to actually own their own business or have a brick and mortar to that. Would you say?
You know,
Let's talk.
I may think that there's some barriers as far as it comes with red tape with some things.
Mm-hmm.
However, again, I'm of the belief that if the Black Wall Street established it without legislation, what stops us now from being able to establish this within our own communities? Because this is a conversation we've been having throughout the week, but I want to just mainly focus on the fact that I believe we can still thrive in a strong black economic incline, not something that's declining. And I believe Black America is a wealthy part of America. I just think we just don't see it, or we don't want to believe it.
Really? You think we are?
I absolutely know we are.
That is contrary to what you typically raise up in conversations about black folks.
No, I believe that there is wealthy black people. I just also know that we have ghetto ones. And I understand.
But you highlight the ghetto
because I highlight the ghetto folks, because let me make this very clear, because I don't mind saying it. I highlight the ghetto because someone had mentioned to me yesterday, but I highlight the ghetto not because I know that everybody talks about black folks and whatever, but I feel like as someone who is a black man, that I do recognize that I'm a black man, of great melanin. But I would say this. I highlight this only because I realize that some people need to understand what the issue is, and some people don't even realize that they have an issue. It's like going around and someone goes and says a word incorrectly all the time, like how we say someone could quote or misquote. I use, for example, a scripture, and we'll finally be like, hey, listen, I've heard you say that, but that's actually not the context of it. So I feel like if we're not being a good steward of our community, period, then what are we offering? If the black people that we see, we don't never tell them, this don't look good. This is not a representation of who we are, because you may, as you said, who you hang around, right? But who do we see more of? When I look on social media, when I see black people, most of the people that they put in front of us are not those black people that is something that looks like Black Wall Street. I don't see it. I see.
My algorithm is a little different.
Well, my algorithms, maybe it's showing it me so I can help call it out. But the algorithms that I see is stuff that I'm trying to be.
So we'll table that for another day, so we don't get too sidetracked. I just wanted to know for clarity. But to answer your question about Black Wall Street 2.0, we saw that in Tulsa.
Yes.
Right? Back in the 20s, early 20s. And so what other centralized location or pockets of wealth have we seen that in across America since then?
I believe that it was in Eatonville. I believe that was a place that was thriving, Eatonville, Florida. I believe Detroit at one time before it became where it is currently.
Okay.
I'm trying to think.
That was because of the industry of like the automobiles and things of that nature?
And I believe that, and I do believe that's a point too, because in Tulsa or Oklahoma, period, it was the oil capital of the world at one point.
Yep.
And so I do know things change, industries change. It's no longer the oil capital. I don't even know what the oil capital of the world at this moment, so forgive me. But I do know that things change. However, I do believe that we need to be able to change with it, not to completely get rid of it. Like, how do we go back to the strategy table? And I think that's what we miss sometime in our communities, is that there's a strategy. As you even mentioned, with Republicans have a strategy. I do believe that other cultures have strategies. You look at the Asian population, they strategize, even if it's how they're going to get their other family members over from Asian, they coming.
They are?
Yeah.
And we can talk about that, because, that's immigration, ain't it?
OnlyFans. A Florida Republican gubernatorial candidate, James Fishback, proposed a 50% tax on OnlyFans creator if he becomes governor. Woo. No more state coochies. Oh, he getting rid of it, baby.
Willie. On behalf of this show, I do apologize for my colleague using such obscene language when we are discussing real issues that could impact our great state or the country of America.
This is not going to impact of it, and I do appreciate her apologizing on my behalf, because I was not going to apologize. But I do want to say this, though. I agree with this 50% tax. I don't believe that it's going to go anywhere, but I do agree with it, because I think that OnlyFans, and this is the reason why, you guys, I've always been a person that anybody, whether it's a man or a woman, no matter where your demographics is, I've seen the pornography industry destroy families. It is something that it's destructive when it gets in, because a lot of people, when they get into this industry, and I've heard from people who's in the industry of OnlyFans or even before then, and they get into it and they go back, some years down the road and say they wish they never got, like they literally are traumatized. They're taking counseling. They end up on drugs. So I feel like the same thing with alcohol and others. Those are some of the highest type of tax that you have to have when you go and open up a place, because they don't really want them there. So if you want to do it, you need to pay the price to do it. And that's what I feel. If you want to go out there and put your body out there, then you need to pay this extra price.
So riddle me this. Why use a spiritual term for a legislative policy? Why say sinful tax? Why not an OnlyFans tax? Or why not, another description of the word to get across your point? Why sin tax?
That's his belief system. That's what he's calling it. Because it would be essentially, according to the belief of the word of God, it would be sin.
But I hear that, and I identify as a Christian. To be clear, I am a woman of God. I believe in Jesus Christ, the Trinity, all the things, right? However, I know that as believers, we are commissioned to do the gospel, to share the gospel. But not everyone succumbs or believes in what you and I believe in. So is it fair to force Christianity on someone legislatively? If we are saying that we are separating church and state, why not? He can still believe that. That's his belief as a gubernatorial candidate. But why name that sin tax as...
Let me turn this around to you.
Does that make sense?
Did President Obama ever tell people not to call it Obamacare?
That's two separate things.
But it was still named after him. Did he ever say,
Willie,
I don't want it to be attached to my name? It is Affordable Care Act.
And he did not dub it as Obamacare.
But did he ever make a statement to say...
Society dubbed it as Obamacare. He named it what? The Affordable Care Act.
But he would himself call it Obamacare sometimes.
That is what he proposed it as legislation. Society dubbed it as Obamacare. He did not say, and when I do this, y'all better name it as Obamacare.
He didn't say not to.
He did not. He didn't have to.
Well, but I'm saying...
By that time, society had already caught on.
But did he come to help correct society?
He did not. This gubernatorial candidate is saying if he is elected into office in the great state of Florida.
Florida only.
Florida only. He would submit this as the name a sin tax. My question is, why dub it with a spiritual lens when that is forcing your religious belief on someone else?
Y'all, I will make no apology for what I'm getting ready to say. There is a spiritual attribute to everything that happens in society, and the lens in which I see things, Fishback sees things, and others is through the lens of Christianity. If you want to worship Allah, praise to Allah, praise to Allah. If you want to watch Allah, if you want to watch worship Buddha and all these things, that's you. However, if this is a candidate that is a Christian, he's saying, to me, this is sin, then what do we want to do? It's the same way with anybody else that get elected.
Now, do you think that would allow him to gain further votes? Do you think that would increase his votes if he's pandering towards his Christian base?
The evangelicals has a big staple in the state of Florida. So, I mean, I think that it would actually go pretty well in the state of Florida. However, I don't know how it will go in other states. And maybe he knows, looking at the numbers and statistics, that it's something that he can get by with in the state of Florida.
Well,
but I honestly don't think, I honestly don't think that it would remain sin tax. It's just like someone saying this is the Trump care, or like I said, Obamacare. It's going to have a name. I just think this is what he's using as a point to make it. And I said this before, what we just said earlier in topic one, that people have to have something to trigger their thinking. And this is what we have to realize. People these days they're not thinking. And it's like everything is eye candy, is quickness. And you got to be able to be like, what can jog these people's mind to say, oh, shoot, what did he just say? That's how I feel that he's doing with that. Just like, well, I'll let that go. All right. In 1950s, only about 9% of black children lived in homes without their father. Today, that number is drastically higher. And the debate is whether policy helps stabilize families or unintentionally weaken them. So now we're not in 1950.
We're not.
We're in 2025.
6.
We are in 2025. I'm in 2025. But anyway, so we're in 2026. So what would you say in our restoration of the black family? Why and what happened? And what are we going to do? Because this is the conversation I love to have, because I feel like, LBJ destroyed the black family.
You think he destroyed the black family?
Yes.
Tell me why. Truthfully, we're having a conversation.
I would tell you why. Because of the statements that he had made, he was the straight out racist. And so I believe that what he wanted to do, I know what he wanted to do, was to make the black family, especially the black woman, dependent on the government. And for some time, because now black people starting to wake up again, it was successful. And we saw that. We saw that decline in there.
Okay, so Lyndon B. Johnson was elected into office 64 to 68, I want to say. 64 is when we had the Civil Rights Act. 65 is when we had the Voting Rights Act. So the first 2 years of his presidency, he came out with social justice as a lens, right? That is also when he included Medicare, Medicaid, a lot of the social services that we see. So SNAP benefits.
Which were trackers of us.
Okay. SNAP benefits, Medicare, Medicaid, what else? Head Start. Things that would help Black families socially. I think the downfall in that is, I think it was great to have social safety nets for us, but it didn't equate economically for us. There were still barriers with jobs. There were still barriers in education, but socially we had a cushion, we had a safety net. Families who weren't able to provide food, get food because you had to be working, you had to have a job, right? But if it wasn't enough, that's where SNAP came into play. Kids who weren't able to have a quality education because of resources, we had Head Start in place. Now, where the Black community abused it is by allowing that to be the sole source. But we have this misconception too that if you're on welfare, that means you're not working.
I've never said that. I mean,
no, you haven't said that, but I'm saying like that's a misconception that some people have, that if you're on welfare, you don't have a job. In today's economy, in 2026, there are 2-parent households who actually still receive those benefits because it's not enough because of their house size.
Well, this goes back to what I was saying about the Black Wall Street, of why we have to restore our communities, because we did not have to go. And I use this. I lived in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and when the 1921 race riot took place, it was North Tulsa. Now they call it Tulsa North. So it was North Tulsa, but I lived in South Tulsa.
Okay.
Now, with that being said, this is at that time when it said
Pause. Was that separated by a railroad track?
You know, actually, I do not know. Because when I had to get on the highway.
Okay.
So I don't know if it was a railroad track, but it might have been.
Okay.
But I would say this, though. You could tell the big difference.
The difference? Mm-hmm.
But I would say that when you go talk to the Black folks over on the north side, they were those that can remember hearing the stories. That dollar circulated, you know, among them. They never had to go to the south side. And I said that to say with this is that, yes, there are people with, you know, 2-family households, and they still have to, you know, get benefits to help them further. However, it doesn't, it's like, where does the community come into play with that? Because at that time, you never had to go to the south side to go to the grocery store. You never had to go to the bank over there. You never had to go. Everyone over there was looking out for one another.
Well, that's pre-segregation too. So they were pretty much forced to do everything for us, by us.
That's why I said I think segregation was a bad idea. Desegregation was a bad idea.
I would love to talk about that in February too. I'm serious. I think that would be a great discussion, because there's two sides to that coin. But as far as them having to only stay within like their centralized location, it was because segregation was a thing, which was why the white mob came up with this lie of one of the Black guys assaulting a white woman, which is why they came over and burned it down. But they were actually intimidated by the wealth and the survival of the Black community, which is why they burned it down. So to present day, I don't know how feasible that would be for us to build our own community, given the technology that we have. A lot of the technology and things that we have, we don't own it. It's outsourced by other people who don't look like us. So if it's going to be us, for us, by us, I don't know what that would look like.
But we have software engineers and tech people within our communities too.
Oh, you know about them.
I do. And I do know that we can.
I got sassy with you because you typically only talk about the ghetto folks. And I know you've already just explained yourself, but it really pisses me off when you do that.
So I do know that we can still build the same thing as anybody else. That's the part that I always say, is that for me, it's like, you guys, we don't have to succumb to a ghetto, a ghetto poverty mentality. Like, I see so many people that let's say that poverty and ghetto don't have a look. but some people have the mindset of it. And that's the part that I'm trying to get people to realize, like, change the mindset so that you can change the path that we go forward as a people of color. And we don't do it. It's like we get up on podiums maybe 2 in 4 years, and that's done because we have done politicized it. Get away from the politics of it and get to the community of it. Get to the churches to do what the churches need to do. Be able to go out and say, we had nurses among ourselves. Go out and do that. Do births at home. Do things that got us back together. Go out and show the affection with your spouses so the kids know that there's love among us. Not you gang banging and shooting and killing. That's what the world, they got all this drill music and the kids up there want the...
What type of music?
Drill.
What is that?
It's supposed to be, so I just found it myself.
Oh, okay. I ain't never heard that.
But drill music is supposed to be, it's just all about shooting and murder and killing. It's just some type of music that this new generation.
Drill music.
Drill music. Don't listen to it because it's drilling. President Trump announced he would be cutting off all federal funding to blue states. I agree with that. No, in all seriousness though, but a lot of the blue states they're destructive to the way forward in 2026 and beyond.
And what grounds?
The leadership.
What grounds do you have to prove that? What do you mean?
Because they're fighting against the prick. If you're going to fight against it, at least have a solution. Most of these people are just fighting, as I've said over and over again, they're fighting against President Trump and his administration. They're not fighting for something, they're fighting against something.
So what they're fighting against is the lack of equality for all of their constituents, right? It's not just about one party. This goes across party lines. This has nothing to do with party affiliation whatsoever. It's about survival and families feeling like they can provide for themselves and their kids, right? So when President Trump says that he's going to withhold federal funding from blue states, what I hear is he is willing to damage the economy for the sake of ego and pride. And here is why. If he withholds funding, federal funding from blue states, that means you are withholding education. You are withholding construction work, so infrastructure for various railroads or roads, highways, byways, all those things would be held up. If you withhold federal funding, you are withholding food assistance from families. So it's not just about proving a point. You are actually damaging the family at its core.
So what is the United States?
I don't understand your question.
I'm saying, what is the United States? It's a union. Those states chose to be part of the union. You can choose not to be part of the union.
So if they decide to be not a part of the union, but yet there are still benefits to being a part of this union. So my question to you now is, if that's your framework, if let's just say Florida turns blue and President Trump decides to withhold funding from us, how do you think we will survive? What's your plan of survival? What's the plan of action?
I've been given the plan, the whole entire show, which is time for people to start strategizing and using. There's always state benefits and there's always money that's out there circulating. We don't need.
So we would rely on the state now.
We don't need the federal government.
So we would rely on the state.
Yeah, I believe in getting rid of the federal overreach. That's no matter who's president. Mm-hmm. We have too much federal overreach into the state. And we have sometimes too much state overreach into our local municipalities.
So then if that is the case, let's flip it and talk about ICE really quickly.
And I'll say this, we pay taxes for a reason too.
We do pay taxes for a reason. You are absolutely correct. So really quickly about ICE, if you're saying that there's too much federal overreach, where is the line with the federal government regarding immigration and ICE and entering into whether it's blue or red states or blue or red municipalities?
At that point, you would also cut any federal government. If you're going to not be part of the union, that means ICE would not be a part of it either. You need to be able to establish your own state police and be able to handle what goes on in the jurisdiction of where you live.
And that is Americana, folks. That concludes today's topic. That went by really fast today. I am Shakhea Hinton.
And I'm Willie Montague.
You get all the real tea here, literally, figuratively speaking, all the things. You don't know what we're going to say, how the show is going to take a turn, but we will see you all back here next week, same time, same place, here on Americana.
See y'all.